Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel. We are talking about Brave New World. I kind of wanted to do some final thoughts on the book as we close out this particular chapter, or this series, whatever you want to call it. And anytime we get to the end of a series and I talk about a book, my question is usually always the same, which is, why this book? Why should this book be appreciated? Why is this book taught? Why has this book survived as long as it has when so many other books that were written at the same time just sort of vanished into the ether? And I think a large part of it is because Aldous Huxley shows us a mirror of ourselves in this book. He puts up a big old mirror. Art is a mirror to life, as they do say. And he says, yeah, you, the person reading this book, you like pleasure, right? You like enjoying yourselves. You don't like conflict. You don't like strife and misery, right? Of course you don't. And saying, all right, how far are you willing to take that, reader? How far are you really willing to go? And portraying a world where that turns out to be really bad, where that is not a good thing. Even though the people in that world don't really see it as such, we, looking at it from the outside, can look at it and say, the people living here in this one world government, they don't suffer. They don't strive. They don't want more than they can have. They don't dream. They don't wish. They don't aspire. They don't really love. They don't hate. They just exist. And they really do exist in the same way that, animals or babies exist. They go from one pleasure to another pleasure and then just keep doing that until finally their bodies give out and they die. And then those bodies are recycled for their basic elements or burned as heat. And that's it. And I think that Huxley really wants us, after reading this book, to maybe consider our relationship to pleasure and our relationship to desire and to what we want. And also our relationship maybe to pain and to not getting what we want. We can see through the different characters that he employs that really not getting what you want is what drives you forward. It is what drives you to do better or to change your approach, or sometimes to just really realize that the thing that you wanted isn't good for you. And so I think he is trying to help us to realize that. And it's survived for so long because there is that disconnect in the book, that nobody in the book, except perhaps John the Savage, really understands what has gone wrong with this world. Mustafa Mond, probably, but he doesn't really care. He's in charge. So, hey, what else could he want? But the people within the book, they don't get it, right? If we contrast that to some other dystopian works, like 1984, for example, Winston Smith knows that his world is bad. Winston Smith knows something has gone wrong. He can't fix it, but he at least knows that something's not right. You look at The Handmaid's Tale. Alfred definitely knows something has gone wrong. Alfred definitely knows this is not right. And the people in this world, they don't know that. None of them really get it. None of them really realize that this is not a world for human beings. This is a world for animals and infants. And so it is then for us to ask that question about, well, why don't they realize that? What is so appealing about this brave new world that people would not ask questions, or that people would not try to break free of it somehow? The closest we really get is Bernard, who, as we said before, he wants some solitude, he wants some adventure, and he wants to be sort of a better person. But, he doesn't really push it that far. He doesn't really try as hard as he could. When the chance comes for him to be sent to Iceland with some of the other deviants, he backs off real fast, and he finds a way to not have that done. So for us reading it today, in the 21st century, I think it has a lot of interesting resonance. Because for many of us, especially probably many of us watching this video right now, who are able to get onto the internet, who have the free time to go looking at videos about books and things of that nature, we are probably used to getting a lot of what we want when we want it, especially today, right? Think about, for example, music or movies. It used to be back in the day, back when perhaps I was younger, If I wanted to hear a song, I would have to go buy a CD to get that song, or even worse, I would call into a radio show. Kids, radio was how we used to listen to music before all this. I would call into a radio station and ask the DJ, hey DJ, could you please play this song for me? And maybe the DJ would play the song. Maybe. If they were in a good mood. If they had the song. Right? If I wanted a book and I go to a bookstore and they don't have that book, I'd have to order the book and have to wait a week or two for the book to come in. If I wanted to see a movie, I'd have to go to the video store or wait until it was broadcast on TV. Point is, we had to make an effort to get the things that we wanted. Now we have to make less effort. If I want to hear a song, I can go to Spotify or I can go to YouTube and the song's probably there and I can hear it as soon as the impulse strikes me to hear it. If I want to watch TV, I've got subscriptions to various streaming services, right? I can go to Netflix or Amazon or Disney Plus, and I can probably find what I'm looking for. Or, God forbid, YouTube. I can probably find the show or the clip that I'm looking for. If I want a book, I can go to Amazon and I can download something off of Kindle and I can have it right there. I don't even have to wait for the one-day Amazon Prime delivery. Huxley should be screaming in his grave right now. We don't have to wait for a lot of things. A lot of the material things. A lot of the physical entertainments we don't have to wait for. And what strikes me is I was going to make a distinction actually between a lot of these physical entertainments, these non-necessities we don't have to wait for anymore. We can get them pretty quickly. But other things like the creation of art or the achievement of one's ambitions or goals, you do have to wait for and you do have to struggle for. And the first thing that popped into my mind as soon as I started thinking about what that was, well, there's AI now. And one of the big reactions to generative AI, whether visual or audio or video or text, is that it's not really art because there is no real effort put into it. Now, I know the AI connoisseurs will tell you that there is some sort of magic to being able to craft the perfect prompt. Okay, fine. But it's still not really the kind of lifelong effort that an artist puts into learning their art and learning how their art works. Like, you're never going to convince me that somebody who used Midjourney to make a reasonably good-looking AI picture has the same talent and the same years of skill and work and failure that a traditional artist does. Somebody who's actually using pen and paper or ink or paint or even digital design, right, still takes effort and work and practice and tons of failure. And so many artists and writers and musicians and actors fail and give up before they find success. They fail, they don't get what they want, and they say, I can't do this anymore. And now AI is kind of giving people an out for that. For people to say, you know what, I cannot tolerate the level of work that is necessary to become an artist, so I'm going to use AI to bypass all of that and make something for myself. And so I think that's another thing that Huxley, clearly I don't think Huxley even really imagined that, but I think it would have fit very well into Brave New World. The idea that if you had an artistic impulse, the idea that if you wanted to create something, you didn't have to wait for it, you didn't have to learn the skills or the talent to do it, it would just be created and made just like that. Maybe Huxley still saw the process of learning art to be a pleasant process, bumps and mistakes and pitfalls included. I don't know. But I think we are looking at a world, the world that we live in, as a world in which a lot of our immediate desires can be immediately served. And that is part of what makes Huxley's world kind of alluring in a sense. But again, the point of the book is that if we don't struggle and strive and make mistakes and fail and get better, we're not really human anymore. We're not doing the things that human beings are supposed to do. And so it does kind of encourage us maybe to look at the way we live our lives and say, you know, look at yourself honestly in the face and say, how willing am I to endure hardship? How willing am I to to wait for stuff. And when I say hardship, I want to put a big old asterisk next to that, because my idea of hardship is, oh, good heavens, my Wi-Fi isn't working as well as it should be today. Or, oh, shucks, that one restaurant I wanted Uber Eats isn't available right now. That's my hardship. That's my pain. And to say that when I know that there are countless people suffering in countless different ways around the world who actually have hardship, who actually do suffer, makes me feel real bad and small and stupid. But nevertheless, I think Huxley would have found it really interesting how many ways we have found to get around waiting and to sort of get around having to fail and to practice and to learn. So for us readers here in the 21st century, I think Brave New World is still that kind of weird mirror that's showing us what we kind of want to become, and then explaining to us why, no, you really don't want to become that. We haven't reached the point yet where relationships are abandoned. We haven't really reached the point where mother and father are kind of a silly, dirty word. There are levels to which Huxley's world has risen, or fallen, if you will, that we're still not there. But to be fair, we technically have a couple hundred years to go on the timeline. His was, I think, 300 some odd years after Ford. So we could. I mean, when we talk about things like if we ever figure out how to grow babies in jars, that'll be a thing, and we are going to start tinkering with them. I guarantee someone's going to say, well, what would happen? How could we affect the growth of this baby? Highly unethical. Yes. But as I said in one of the earlier videos, I can almost guarantee if you had... Okay, I'm not slandering Jeff Bezos. I want to make that very clear if his lawyers are watching. I'm not slandering. I'm proposing a hypothetical. That if Jeff Bezos could have a clone employee force of people who were specifically bred and trained to want nothing more than to work the Amazon warehouses really, really well, he would absolutely do that. I believe that 100%. If Bezos could have an army of, let's say, deltas. Deltas are the smartest of the bottom three group. I think. I'm not good with my Greek letters. But yeah, if he could have some gammas or deltas, probably not epsilons. Epsilons are a bit more sort of dangerous stuff. But yeah, I really believe that he would. I honestly believe that he would. If our fast fashion industry could have cloned workers whose only real desire in life is to sit for hours on end and make cheap clothes, they absolutely would. At some point, this technology may become real, and then we kind of all have to look back to Brave New World and say, remember, this is not a good thing, right? This is the torment nexus. Please don't invent the torment nexus, but you know they're going to invent the torment nexus. So I think this is a really good book to keep around, and I think this is a very good book to keep introducing to students in English class and to whomever we can as a warning against allowing ourselves to become really less than human. I don't know why it hasn't been turned into a big budget Netflix, Amazon show yet. I kind of hope it's on their list. I don't know. I'd love to see this dramatized. I don't know how it would be done, but I would love to see it done. So if you're interested in that, if you're part of that, if you're in one of these big streaming services and want to make a Brave New World show, please do it. You have my blessing, as if you ever needed it. But anyway, I think it's a very good book. If you haven't read it, you should. If you have read it, go read it again. And if you would like to share your thoughts and opinions on the book, why it's important, why it needs to be taught, why it sticks around, please let me know down in the comments. So that is it for Brave New World. Thank you very much for sticking with me through all of this. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to assume you've already subscribed, because of course you have, but on the off chance you haven't, that would be lovely. What's our next book? Well, I'm not sure yet. I haven't picked it as of this recording. One thing I would like to do is what I call a dystopia-off. I want to do a video where I pit 1984 against Brave New World, because those two texts are sort of the premier dystopian novels of the 20th century. So I kind of want to pit those against, maybe with guest stars from Ray Bradbury and Margaret Atwood to fill it out, and try to figure out exactly which dystopia we are living in right now. So with that, thanks again. I love it when you come back, and I'll see you for the next book. Have a good one.